As night settles softly around you, the world begins to quiet in ways you rarely pause to notice. The air grows still, the sounds fade into gentle distance, and the mind loosens its grip on the day's noise. In that gradual hush, the sky above becomes a kind of companion, silent, steady, patient. If you look upward, even just in your imagination, you might picture a vast darkness stretching out in every direction, dotted with ancient starlight that has traveled unimaginable distances just to meet your eyes. And nestled in that darkness is the moon, luminous yet calm, familiar yet somehow distant. It has been with humanity since our earliest stories, our first nights, our oldest fears and dreams. It seems so constant that we rarely question it. But tonight, gently, without haste or urgency, you're invited to look at the moon in a new way. For as long as people have watched the sky, the moon has been more than a floating sphere of rock. It has been a guide for travelers, a marker for time, a symbol in ritual, a watcher in the dark. But it has also been the source of deep curiosity, a place where countless mysteries seem to gather and refuse to fully resolve. Scientists, historians, and ancient storytellers have all offered explanations, some rooted in data, others in myth, and some in quiet speculation. And yet, the deeper we look, the more the moon seems to offer more questions than answers. There are strange patterns, unexplained sounds, unusual geological features, and historical accounts that don't quite align with what we expect a natural satellite to be. None of these pieces demand belief in anything extraordinary, but together they form a quiet whisper, a subtle suggestion that perhaps the moon is not what we have always assumed. Tonight's journey begins with that whisper, not with shock or drama, but with calm curiosity. As you rest, your mind can drift between fact and possibility, between known science and unanswered mystery. You're not here to reach a conclusion. You're simply here to follow a trail of gentle clues. Imagine floating higher than the rooftops, above the winding roads and sleeping cities, rising slowly into the cool darkness until Earth stretches out beneath you like a vast, glowing sculpture. From that height, the moon feels closer, white, steady, and impossibly serene. It hangs in silence, yet it carries within it billions of years of hidden history. In this quiet moment, you might reflect on how often you've seen the moon without really seeing it. We glance at it briefly, perhaps appreciating its glow, but rarely wondering what lies beneath its surface or behind its origins. Yet astronomers, astronauts, and ancient scholars did wonder. They built theories, recorded unusual events, and sometimes describe the moon in ways that sound surprisingly modern. There are accounts of strange lights traveling across its surface, of shadows that shift in ways that aren't easily explained, of vibrations and echoes detected during scientific experiments that behave unlike those of ordinary planetary rock. These details don't demand belief in anything extraordinary, but they add texture to the moon's story, enriching its presence in the sky with layers of intrigue. As you drift deeper into relaxation, you might notice how comforting this mystery feels, not threatening, not unsettling, just quietly fascinating. There is something soothing about acknowledging that the universe is larger and more intricate than we can fully comprehend. Even the moon, the object we know most intimately in the night sky, carries secrets. And perhaps that is part of its beauty. It invites wonder without urgency, invites imagination without fear. You're simply observing, as countless humans have done before you. Tonight, you will trace this calm mystery from ancient interpretations to modern scientific puzzles, moving through centuries of thought with slow, easy steps. There is no need to rush, no need to search for definitive answers. Instead, imagine the moon as a companion guiding you through a landscape of curiosity, always at a pace gentle enough for sleep to approach naturally. Some theories you'll encounter will feel grounded in logic and observation. Others will drift closer to the edges of possibility, offering ideas about engineered structures, quiet watchers in the sky, or civilizations far older than our own. But every idea will be presented softly, respectfully, allowing you to remain in a state of comfort. As this night's exploration begins, let your breath settle into a smooth, unhurried rhythm. Allow your thoughts to loosen and stretch into the wide space of imagination. The moon glows above not as an object demanding answers, but as a companion inviting you to journey through its mysteries. And in that peaceful invitation, you may find your mind drifting toward a deeper stillness, carried gently by the possibility that the moon, so familiar to the eye, might hold stories we are only just beginning to consider. For as long as humans have opened their eyes to the night sky, the moon has been a silent companion, always present, always watching, always shaping the rhythm of life below. Long before telescopes, rockets, or scientific theories, ancient civilizations studied its movements with careful attention. They built calendars around its cycles, predicted seasons through its phases, and wove stories about its origins that were passed down for thousands of years. What's fascinating is that across continents and time periods, many cultures describe the moon not as something that simply existed, but as something that arrived, something that changed the world when it appeared. Whether these stories reflect symbolic imagination or forgotten memories of unusual celestial events, they invite a sense of deep wonder. And in a world lit only by fire and starlight, these stories carried profound influence. Among the Zulu people of southern Africa, for example, there is an ancient account that the moon was once not in the sky at all. Their legend speaks of two brothers who brought the moon to earth, describing it as something hollowed out and rolled into the sky. While the story is symbolic, the choice of language, brought, placed, hollowed, is intriguingly precise, almost mechanical in nature. Similarly, early Tibetan and Sumerian traditions contain references to a time before the moon existed, a memory so old that it reaches back into the earliest layers of their recorded mythologies. These cultures did not interact with one another, did not exchange stories across oceans, and yet the theme appears repeatedly: a sky without a moon, then a sudden change, and humanity adjusting to a new object watching over them. Even the ancient Greeks, who were among the earliest scientific thinkers, had groups known as the proselenes, meaning those who lived before the moon. They believed their ancestors existed during a time when Earth was illuminated only by starlight. Modern scientists have speculated these myths may contain fragmented memories of natural astronomical events, like a bright comet or a long-lasting atmospheric phenomenon. But the consistency of these stories across civilizations is striking. It suggests that the moon's presence has always been mysterious and awe-inspiring, prompting early humans to create explanations that blended observation with imagination. As agriculture developed and societies grew more structured, the moon became essential for organizing life. Ancient calendars in China, Babylonia, and Mesoamerica relied heavily on lunar cycles. Full moons symbolized renewal, transitions, or divine presence. Eclipses were treated as warnings, sacred events, or messages from beyond. In many cultures, the moon wasn't just a celestial object. It was a living influence that shaped human behavior. And with that importance came a natural curiosity. Why does the moon move the way it does? Why does it appear larger on the horizon? Why does it occasionally turn red during eclipses? Early philosophers and astronomers tried to answer these questions, but the moon often defied their expectations. Lunar eclipses especially puzzled ancient scholars. In Mesopotamia, royal astrologers recorded eclipse patterns with remarkable accuracy, but even they noted that some eclipses behaved strangely, lasting longer or appearing darker than expected. In ancient India, astronomers described unusual shadows and lights on the lunar surface long before telescopes existed. These observations were sometimes interpreted as spiritual signs, but they also demonstrated a surprising level of scientific attentiveness. People weren't merely afraid of the moon, they were studying it with genuine curiosity. As time passed, these early observations blended into cultural memory and spiritual symbolism. The moon represented cycles of rebirth in Egyptian mythology, a divine guardian in Japanese folklore, and a poetic muse in ancient Arabic tradition. In each case, the moon was more than a passive presence. It was an active force shaping emotions, decisions, and rituals. And beneath the spiritual interpretations lay something deeply human: the desire to understand a celestial companion that felt close, yet remained unreachable. When we look at these ancient stories through a modern lens, they reveal something subtle and important. Even without scientific tools, early humans recognized that the moon was unusual, unusually large, unusually bright, unusually influential on tides, crops, and human behavior. Their myths and narratives, though symbolic, often carry hints of observation. Some describe the moon as hollow, others as brought into place, others as an object with a history separate from Earth. Whether these interpretations were literal or poetic, they reflect a consistent sense of wonder, a sense that the moon's origin is not as straightforward as it seems. As you continue this calm journey tonight, imagine those early civilizations looking up at the same moon you see now. Imagine the fires flickering beside them, the night air cool against their skin, and the moon hanging above, silent, luminous, and deeply mysterious. Their stories, preserved over thousands of years, whisper across time not as strict truths, but as gentle reminders that the moon has always invited imagination. And in those ancient whispers, the mystery begins to deepen, leading you toward the next layer of its long, enigmatic history. Modern science has spent decades studying the moon, and yet the more closely researchers examine it, the more unusual it seems. On the surface, it appears to be a simple celestial body, gray, cratered, and silent. But beneath that stillness lies a collection of scientific puzzles that don't quite fit into one tidy explanation. When astronauts brought back lunar rocks, geologists expected them to confirm a clear origin story. Instead, the samples revealed chemical compositions that were oddly contradictory. Some rocks appeared far older than Earth's oldest formations, while others contained isotopic signatures nearly identical to Earth's crust. These findings challenge scientists to rethink their assumptions, because the moon seemed to be both deeply familiar and impossibly ancient at the same time. One of the most intriguing discoveries came from the seismic experiments conducted during the Apollo missions. Astronauts placed instruments on the lunar surface and triggered controlled impacts, sometimes by dropping equipment, other times by crashing empty spacecraft into the moon. The results were unexpected. When struck, the moon didn't absorb the vibrations the way Earth does. Instead, it reverberated for long periods, almost like a tuning fork. The term rang like a bell became famous, though scientists clarified that it was a metaphor. Still, the underlying fact was striking. The moon behaved as if its internal structure was far more rigid and oddly layered than originally assumed. Engineers and geophysicists debated what this meant. Some suggested it was due to dry, fractured rock. Others proposed unusual density distribution within the interior. But none of the explanations fully resolved why the vibrations traveled so cleanly and for so long. Another scientific curiosity lies in the moon's remarkable orbit and size. Compared to the planet it orbits, the moon is disproportionately large, far bigger, relative to its planet, than most moons in the solar system. This unusual ratio affects Earth's tides, climate stability, and axial tilt, contributing to the conditions that support life. The three main scientific theories of lunar origin, the giant impact hypothesis, the capture theory, and the co-formation theory, each explain part of the puzzle, but leave important gaps. The giant impact hypothesis, currently the leading model, proposes that a Mars-sized body collided with early Earth. But if that were true, scientists would expect the moon's composition to show significant differences from Earth's, yet lunar samples often match Earth's outer layers almost perfectly. The capture theory struggles with the physics required to slow a wandering object enough for Earth to pull it into orbit. And co-formation does not account for the moon's iron-depleted core or its strange density anomalies. These density anomalies, known as mascons, add another layer of complexity. Beneath the moon's large dark plains, the Maria, scientists discovered concentrations of unexpectedly high mass. These dense regions distort the moon's gravitational field so strongly that early lunar spacecraft had to adjust their orbits to avoid being pulled off course. NASA eventually mapped these mascons in detail, but their origin remains debated. Some researchers propose ancient lava flows might explain them, while others note that the shapes and distributions don't behave like typical geological formations. Once again, the moon appears natural at first glance, yet strangely engineered in some of its internal characteristics. The moon's surface also raises questions. Many craters are unusually shallow for the size of the impacts that created them, almost as if something beneath the surface limits how deep debris can penetrate. On Earth, large impacts create deep basins, but the moon's largest craters lack the expected depth. Scientists have proposed explanations, such as compacted crust or shock-wave dispersal through rigid material, but these theories remain open for interpretation. Additionally, the distribution of certain elements, such as titanium-rich rocks in unexpected regions, continues to challenge the idea that the moon formed through a simple, uniform process. Even the moon's rotation is peculiar. It is tidally locked, showing the same face to Earth at all times. While tidal locking is common in the universe, the precision of the moon's orientation and its long-term stability are remarkably beneficial to Earth's climate. Some astrophysicists note that if the moon were slightly different in mass or distance, Earth's seasons and environmental balance might be far less stable. This doesn't imply intentional design, but it does highlight how delicately tuned the Earth-Moon system is. Taken together, these scientific details create a quiet sense of curiosity. No single anomaly is impossible to explain, yet when combined, they leave a lingering impression that the moon remains a geological and astrophysical puzzle. As you settle deeper into this calm exploration tonight, you're invited to hold these questions lightly, without the need for immediate answers. The moon's mysteries are not meant to trouble the mind, but to open it, allowing you to drift gently into the next stage of its long and fascinating story. Even as scientists studied the moon from Earth and through lunar missions, there were those who observed it in ways that defied simple explanation. Astronauts, astronomers, and even careful amateur observers occasionally reported phenomena that seemed to suggest the moon was more than just a silent rock in the sky. During the Apollo missions, astronauts described seeing fleeting flashes of light on the lunar surface, glimmers that appeared and disappeared without clear cause. These observations were not the result of imagination or stress. Many of them were recorded in official mission logs, and in several cases, multiple crew members noticed the same phenomenon simultaneously. The reports were often met with cautious skepticism from mission control, yet the anomalies persisted, subtle and fleeting, as if the moon itself were hiding secrets in plain sight. Beyond the Apollo missions, other observers noticed unusual lunar activity. Civilian astronomers in the 19th and 20th centuries documented transient lunar phenomena, brief flashes, color changes, and shadow shifts that lasted anywhere from a few seconds to several minutes. Some recorded odd shapes or patterns in the Maria that seemed too regular to be random geological formations. Historical accounts even describe lights moving across the lunar surface in a manner inconsistent with natural reflection. While most scientists attributed these sightings to optical illusions, atmospheric interference, or human error, the sheer number and consistency of the reports over centuries make them noteworthy. They suggest that occasionally, the moon presents glimpses of something unusual, something that cannot be fully explained by conventional observation. Astronaut accounts, in particular, hold a quiet weight because of the training, experience, and focus required for space travel. Several Apollo crew members noted what they described as geometric shadows or reflective surfaces that did not match the lunar terrain. In some cases, equipment readings detected unusual heat signatures or electromagnetic disturbances near the areas where these observations occurred. Although NASA officially classified most of these anomalies as inconclusive, the consistency of the accounts invites reflection. Highly trained professionals, working under controlled conditions, observed aspects of the moon that resisted easy explanation, and their reports were recorded with precision rather than exaggeration. Even beyond human observers, telescopic monitoring over decades revealed regions of the moon that seemed to change over time. Some craters appeared brighter or darker at different periods, as if reflecting light in unexpected ways. Certain formations seemed to cast shadows that shifted subtly, not fully explained by the sun's angle. These changes were often intermittent and difficult to reproduce on demand, which is why scientists approach them cautiously. Still, the persistence of such observations across generations of astronomers suggests that the moon contains qualities or activities that are transient, subtle, and sometimes imperceptible except under close scrutiny. There's also a psychological aspect to these reports that deserves attention. Observers often describe a sense of heightened awareness when studying the moon, a feeling that they are being watched back, or that the surface holds some quiet, deliberate intelligence. Whether this is a human response to vastness and isolation or a reflection of actual anomalies is impossible to prove, yet it speaks to the moon's enduring capacity to evoke wonder and mystery. Even in the calmest observation, the moon seems to invite questions rather than provide clear answers, encouraging the mind to linger over possibilities and uncertainties. Some of the more curious incidents involved astronauts witnessing objects that appeared to track their movements, or lights that seemed to blink in a non-random pattern. Mission transcripts hint at careful note-taking of these events, with crew members describing shapes, movements, and reflections that did not correspond to any expected natural features. Ground control often advised caution, reminding crews that the moon's reflective surface could produce optical effects. Yet the repeated nature of these accounts across different missions makes them difficult to dismiss entirely. They form a quiet chorus of observation, a series of fleeting moments that hint at complexity, organization, or simply phenomena not yet understood. As you let your mind drift through these accounts tonight, it's not necessary to form conclusions or search for answers. Instead, picture the moon as it appears through the eyes of those who have looked more closely, with a combination of wonder, training, and curiosity. See the subtle glimmers, the shifting shadows, the patterns that appear and vanish. Allow the quiet weight of these eyewitness observations to deepen your sense of mystery, to hint at a moon that is simultaneously familiar and elusive, and to invite a gentle, contemplative curiosity that carries you into the next layer of its long and layered story. During the mid-20th century, the moon became more than a distant celestial companion. It became a focus of intense strategic interest. As the Cold War deepened, both the United States and the Soviet Union recognized that whoever controlled knowledge of the moon could gain advantages in technology, surveillance, and even military positioning. Lunar observation, once the domain of astronomers and dreamers, now intersected with geopolitics. Governments commissioned extensive studies, monitored the moon with telescopes and early radar, and even speculated about the possibility of hidden structures or bases on its surface. While official statements remained cautious and often dismissive, internal reports reveal a pattern of serious attention and meticulous recording of anomalies that might have had strategic implications. NASA documents and Soviet Space Agency records from the 1960s and 1970s show that both superpowers were aware of reports describing transient lunar phenomena. While these reports were largely classified and treated as curiosities rather than threats, the very act of monitoring suggested a recognition that the moon might hold secrets beyond simple geology. Some engineers noted unexplained reflections or signals detected during lunar missions, and these were carefully logged for future analysis. The moon was no longer merely a natural satellite. It had become a silent stage for technological competition, an object whose features, whether ordinary or unusual, demanded attention from those with the capability to investigate. Interestingly, several Cold War-era proposals reveal how seriously space agencies considered the moon's potential for intelligence or strategic use. In the United States, military documents occasionally explored the idea of installing early warning systems, communication relays, and even orbital satellites using the moon's gravitational stability to advantage. Some of these plans were theoretical, but others were detailed enough to show engineering calculations and surveillance strategies. Soviet scientists, meanwhile, studied the moon with long-range radar and considered manned lunar missions, partly to assess whether artificial anomalies existed. Although none of these documents confirmed anything extraordinary on the moon, they reveal that it was under constant scrutiny from highly trained professionals, and that any unusual observation was treated with exceptional caution. During this time, public awareness of lunar exploration was carefully managed. Media coverage emphasized triumphs in science and exploration, rather than the ambiguous phenomena observed by astronauts or telescopic observers. For example, the Apollo 11 mission was presented as a human achievement, a testament to ingenuity and courage, while internal logs contained meticulous notes on subtle anomalies. Lights, reflections, shadows that seemed to shift against expectations, and even minor variations in gravitational readings. Official narratives encouraged fascination and inspiration, but did not acknowledge uncertainties or unexplained data. This dual approach, public reassurance, private curiosity, reflects a delicate balance between national pride, scientific integrity, and the subtle hint that the moon might not be fully understood. Another aspect of governmental interest involved signals and electromagnetic phenomena. During early lunar missions, some instruments detected brief, unexplained variations in electromagnetic readings. While these were ultimately classified as inconclusive or attributed to solar activity, the records show that both the U.S. and Soviet programs treated such occurrences with caution. Researchers debated whether these signals could be evidence of unusual natural phenomena, unknown geological processes, or, in more speculative internal discussions, artificial structures. Even when conclusions were cautious, the careful recording and repeated observation suggest that the moon was treated as a body worthy of detailed monitoring, beyond simple exploration or geological curiosity. The psychological impact of this attention is also worth noting. Astronauts and mission planners often describe the moon as eerily still, yet somehow observant. Some reported a quiet sense of being watched, or that the moon's surface seemed unusually deliberate in its features. Ground personnel, aware of the geopolitical stakes, approached lunar anomalies with a mix of professional detachment and quiet fascination. These subtle human reactions reinforce the idea that the moon is more than a passive object in space. It is a stage for human observation, speculation, and even imagination, influenced by the knowledge that nations are watching alongside you. As you imagine the moon tonight, picture it through the eyes of those who studied it not just as scientists, but as strategists. See the quiet tension of observation, the careful logs of subtle anomalies, the meticulous attention to every reflection, shadow, and signal. The moon remains calm, unchanging in appearance, yet quietly at the center of decades of scrutiny, curiosity, and cautious speculation. Allow this perspective to deepen your sense of wonder, as the narrative of observation, government interest, and human fascination carries you gently toward the next layer of its enduring mystery. Beyond the careful observations of scientists and governments, a more unconventional theory has captured the imagination of both researchers and dreamers, that the moon may not be entirely natural. While mainstream science maintains a natural origin model, some researchers have proposed the idea that the moon could be engineered, hollow, or otherwise modified. The theory is not rooted in casual speculation, but in careful analysis of data collected over decades, from seismic readings, gravitational mapping, and lunar samples, to orbital mechanics and comparative studies of other moons in the solar system. Those who study this possibility note that the moon's unusual characteristics, the ringing echoes of seismic tests, its unusually stable orbit, its disproportionate size relative to Earth, raise questions that are difficult to resolve with conventional explanations alone. The suggestion is not that these observations confirm extraterrestrial construction, but that they merit consideration, and that the moon's uniqueness may reflect an origin story more complex than simple planetary formation. In the mid-20th century, Russian scientists Mikhail Vassin and Alexander Sherbakov articulated one of the most cited frameworks for this theory. They published a detailed paper suggesting that the moon might be a hollow object created by an advanced civilization, positioned deliberately around Earth for reasons ranging from observation to planetary stabilization. Their hypothesis drew on decades of astronomical data and careful interpretation of lunar anomalies. They acknowledged that definitive proof was lacking, yet they argued that the moon's mechanical properties, its precise orbital alignment, and its internal mass distribution were unusually consistent with the idea of intentional engineering. While controversial, Their work prompted both interest and criticism, and it has remained a reference point for discussions of the moon's artificiality. The hollow moon idea gained further attention with the Apollo missions. Seismic instruments revealed that when meteoroids or equipment impacted the surface, vibrations reverberated through the interior in a way that differed sharply from terrestrial rock. The moon rang in ways that suggested cavities or unusual structural properties. Scientists proposed natural explanations, such as rigid crustal layers and low-density materials beneath the surface. But some researchers noted that these interpretations could not account for every anomaly. When combined with other unusual observations, the moon's smooth maria, in contrast with its jagged highlands, its specific orbital stability, and the presence of mascons, questions arose that invited deeper contemplation. Comparative studies of moons throughout the solar system also support the sense that Earth's moon is atypical. Most planets of similar size host multiple small satellites, irregular in orbit and composition. In contrast, the moon is singular, large, and remarkably well-positioned. Some theorists argue that this unusual arrangement suggests intervention, whether natural or otherwise. The moon's precise distance, its tidal influence, stabilizing Earth's axial tilt, and its effect on oceanic tides all contribute to a delicate balance that promotes life. While this could be coincidental, the consistency of these factors adds to the intrigue surrounding the possibility of design, intentional or otherwise. Critically, proponents of the artificial moon hypothesis emphasize that the idea is not about science fiction spectacle, but about curiosity grounded in observation. They often stress the importance of approaching the moon with careful analysis and calm consideration. Lunar anomalies do not automatically point to extraterrestrial intervention, but they do encourage a broader perspective on possibilities. This balance between evidence and speculation is key to presenting the theory responsibly. Historical documents, orbital data, and physical anomalies all converge to suggest that the moon's origin may be more complex than is often presented in simplified narratives. As you imagine the moon tonight, consider its surface not as a simple sphere of rock, but as an object that has puzzled generations of observers, scientists, and dreamers alike. Picture its craters and plains, its silent rotation, its quiet gravitational presence. Consider the idea, without needing to accept it, that the moon could be something deliberately shaped or influenced, that its features might contain traces of careful design, whether natural or artificial. Allow this notion to settle gently, not as proof but as a layer of thought, enriching the moon's presence with a quiet, contemplative intrigue. Let your mind wander among possibilities, floating softly over the lunar surface, while you continue on this calm journey into the mysteries that have captured human imagination for centuries. If we allow ourselves to explore the possibility that the moon might be more than a simple natural satellite, it naturally leads to questions about why such an object might exist in its current form and orbit. Speculating gently, one can imagine that an advanced civilization, far older and more technologically sophisticated than humanity, might have reasons for positioning a structure like the moon around Earth. Perhaps it was intended as a stabilizing influence, ensuring that the planet's axial tilt remained steady over millions of years, creating favorable conditions for the emergence of life. Astrophysicists note that even small variations in Earth's tilt could produce extreme climate swings, making the moon's stabilizing role seem almost providential. Whether intentional or coincidental, this delicate balance invites wonder. The moon not only illuminates the night sky, it quietly shapes the very conditions that allow life to thrive below. Other motives, explored thoughtfully by researchers and theorists, might include observation or long-term monitoring. A large, stable satellite offers an excellent vantage point from which to watch the planet's surface over vast timescales. Imagine a silent observer, capable of tracking the development of continents, oceans, and the slow unfolding of evolution. This does not necessarily imply malevolent intent. It could simply be an exercise in curiosity, akin to the way humans send probes to distant worlds. The moon, in this interpretation, could function as a repository of information, its geological and orbital characteristics intentionally preserved to record or influence planetary history. Even if no intelligent presence remains now, the structural peculiarities might be remnants of careful planning from a distant past. There are also more subtle possibilities to consider. Some scientists suggest that the moon could have been positioned to subtly guide the evolution of life on Earth. Tidal forces, created by the moon's gravitational pull, play a critical role in regulating the oceans and maintaining ecological balance. Some paleontologists note correlations between tidal activity and patterns of species migration or even the development of early terrestrial life. While natural explanations exist, it is fascinating to contemplate the idea that these environmental effects might have been enhanced or stabilized intentionally. The moon's influence, quiet and unassuming, shapes rhythms of the planet that humans experience daily, yet rarely consider. Speculative reasoning can also extend to the realm of culture and psychology. The moon has inspired myths, legends, and rituals across every known civilization. From the Egyptian god Khonsu to the Japanese deity Tsukuyomi, from poetic celebrations of the full moon in Arabic literature to intricate calendars in Mesoamerica, the moon has always held symbolic weight. Perhaps an advanced civilization understood the psychological power of a celestial companion. The way it draws attention, evokes awe, and subtly guides behavior. Even without direct interaction, the moon may serve as a bridge between the physical and the imaginative, fostering observation, reflection, and cultural continuity across millennia. Astrophysical reasoning lends quiet support to these ideas. The moon is unusually large relative to Earth, its orbit almost perfectly circular, its rotational period synchronized, so that one face always gazes down. Such precision enhances planetary stability, creating tides, moderating seasonal variations, and subtly influencing the length of days. While all of this can occur naturally, the statistical likelihood of such perfect alignment occurring purely by chance invites contemplation. Whether coincidence or design, the result is a system finely tuned for life as we know it, a system whose presence feels almost purposeful in its effects. It is important, however, to maintain a calm and reflective approach. These possibilities are not certainties. They are exercises in imagination and hypothesis, grounded in observed phenomena and physical realities. The moon may be entirely natural, yet considering alternative perspectives allows the mind to stretch gently, to explore the interplay of science, history, and subtle mystery. It is in this balance, between observation and speculation, between curiosity and relaxation, that the moon's deepest allure emerges. It is both familiar and unknowable, a silent companion offering beauty, stability, and an invitation to ponder. As you drift further into this night, allow your thoughts to imagine the moon not simply as rock, but as a guardian of the planet, a witness to Earth's unfolding story, perhaps even a carefully positioned observer. Picture the soft glow bathing the oceans, the way tides rise and fall, the way civilizations have looked up in wonder. Let these gentle contemplations deepen your sense of calm, allowing curiosity and serenity to coexist, as the quiet mystery of the moon carries you slowly toward a peaceful, dreamlike rest. Throughout human history, the moon has not only shaped the physical world, but also left an indelible mark on our imagination, culture, and collective consciousness. Its presence has inspired myths, poems, rituals, and artistic expressions, serving as a mirror for humanity's hopes, fears, and fascination with the unknown. Ancient civilizations often attributed supernatural qualities to its phases, linking the full moon to fertility, transformation, or divine messages. In Japan, the moon is celebrated through the festival of Tsukimi, where people gather to admire its beauty and reflect on the passing of time. In Mesoamerica, lunar calendars guided agricultural cycles, linking human activity to celestial rhythms. Even as societies advanced, the moon retained its symbolic significance, reminding people that some mysteries remain just out of reach, silently observed yet deeply influential. The moon's pull on culture extends beyond ancient times. In literature, it has been a muse for countless writers and poets. Arabic poets describe the moon as a silver lantern in the desert sky, illuminating the nights of both longing and serenity. European Romantic poets celebrated its quiet glow over rivers, forests, and cities, using it as a symbol of introspection and emotional reflection. Its steady presence provides comfort while simultaneously evoking a sense of longing for the unknown, a paradox that has fascinated humans across generations. In these creative expressions, the moon is not merely a celestial object. It becomes a character in human stories, a silent witness to our joys, sorrows, and contemplations. Modern media has carried the moon's influence into new realms. Science fiction films and novels often explore its mysteries, sometimes portraying it as a base for hidden civilizations, an outpost for alien observation, or a gateway to other worlds. While fictional, these portrayals reflect humanity's ongoing curiosity about the moon's nature and the possibility that it holds secrets beyond ordinary perception. Documentaries and investigative programs frequently highlight unusual lunar phenomena, transient lights, and unexplained surface features, blending scientific inquiry with subtle intrigue. Through these stories, the moon continues to captivate the human mind, inviting reflection while maintaining a sense of calm fascination rather than alarm. Psychologically, the moon exerts a quiet pull. Its predictable cycles, gentle illumination, and position in the night sky provide a sense of stability, while its mystery evokes wonder. Sleep researchers note that humans are instinctively attuned to the lunar cycle, with subtle effects on sleep patterns, mood, and biological rhythms. This duality, the moon as both comforting and enigmatic, reinforces its cultural power. It allows people to contemplate vast questions while feeling grounded in the familiar, creating a unique space for imagination and relaxation. Whether observed directly or reflected upon in thought, the moon fosters a gentle, meditative state that has made it a natural companion for storytelling and reflection. The enduring fascination with the moon also demonstrates how mysteries can persist across centuries, shaping societal attitudes and individual experiences. People are drawn to the unknown in ways that are subtle and personal. For some, the moon represents stability and comfort, a guide through the night. For others, it embodies curiosity, a doorway to questions that may never have definitive answers. Its ability to occupy these dual roles, anchor and enigma, makes it an ideal focus for contemplation, allowing minds to wander without fear or urgency, encouraging calm reflection and imaginative exploration. In addition, the moon's influence extends to ritual and communal practices. Festivals, storytelling sessions, and poetic recitations often occur in its presence, using its soft illumination to create a serene, contemplative atmosphere. Even in modern times, people gather on rooftops, beaches, or quiet clearings to watch the moon rise, experiencing a sense of connection that transcends time and geography. These practices, whether rooted in spiritual tradition or personal reflection, underscore how the moon bridges generations, connecting human perception, imagination, and cultural expression. It becomes a canvas onto which humans project curiosity, awe, and reverence. As you let your mind drift tonight, imagine the moon not only as a physical body in the sky, but also as a persistent presence in human consciousness. Picture the countless poets, astronomers, storytellers, and dreamers who have gazed at its glow, reflecting on life, the cosmos, and their place within it. Let its soft illumination envelop you, offering both comfort and intrigue, a companion for your own contemplations. In this gentle blending of science, myth, and imagination, the moon remains a silent guide, nurturing curiosity while encouraging calm reflection, inviting you to continue your journey through its quiet, timeless mysteries. Humanity's understanding of the moon continues to evolve, even in the modern era, as new missions, instruments, and analytical techniques reveal layers of detail previously unimaginable. Long after the Apollo astronauts returned with their samples and stories, subsequent missions, both governmental and private, have mapped its surface with extraordinary precision, analyzed its composition remotely, and monitored subtle physical and environmental changes over time. Telescopes on Earth, combined with orbiting satellites, now provide a perspective of the moon that blends scientific accuracy with breathtaking clarity. Yet despite decades of technological advancement, many features remain unexplained, subtle anomalies that continue to fuel curiosity and speculation in both professional and amateur circles. The moon, though catalogued and mapped, remains an enigmatic presence, an object that is simultaneously familiar and strangely elusive. One of the most significant modern investigations has been conducted by NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, LRO, which has provided high-resolution imagery of the moon's surface. The LRO's cameras have mapped craters, mountains, and maria with incredible detail, revealing features that were invisible to earlier missions. Yet, within this clarity, certain unusual formations persist. Some craters appear more geometric than natural, with sharply defined angles that are atypical for impact events. Certain plains exhibit reflectivity patterns that differ from surrounding terrain, sometimes brightening or dimming in ways that cannot be fully explained by sunlight or surface composition alone. Scientists continue to examine these areas, cautiously noting that while natural geological processes may account for many of these features, some patterns defy straightforward categorization. Chinese lunar missions have further expanded our knowledge. The Chang'e program, particularly Chang'e E3 and Chang'e E4, has explored regions that had not been previously studied, including the far side of the moon, which remains permanently hidden from Earth's view. Chang'e E4's rover, U22, has captured photographs of unusual boulder arrangements and subtle terrain irregularities that some observers note as intriguing, though not definitively artificial. These findings contribute to a growing body of evidence that the moon's surface is more varied and complex than early assumptions suggested. Even with robotic missions collecting data systematically, the moon retains areas that seem resistant to simple explanation, inviting continued scrutiny. India's Chandrayaan program has also contributed to modern lunar investigation. Chandrayaan-1 detected water molecules in the polar regions, and its mineralogical studies have revealed unexpected chemical diversity. These observations raise questions about the moon's formation and history, as certain mineral distributions do not entirely match conventional models of a single homogeneous origin. Chandrayaan-2, despite challenges during landing, gathered additional orbital data, contributing to detailed maps of surface composition, magnetic anomalies, and subtle topographic variations. Each dataset, while scientific and empirical, opens new avenues for curiosity, suggesting that the moon story is far from complete. Even private and commercial ventures have begun to explore the moon with modern technology. Companies and research institutions are increasingly interested in lunar resources, including potential helium-3 deposits, rare earth minerals, and ice in permanently shadowed craters. The practical motivations of resource exploration have led to investments in high-resolution mapping, remote sensing, and long-duration monitoring. These initiatives, while commercially driven, also contribute to a detailed observational record that is unprecedented in human history. Every high-resolution image, every mineralogical survey, every infrared or radar scan adds to our collective understanding. Yet the moon's anomalies persist, quietly resisting full explanation. Some of the modern anomalies documented are subtle but persistent. Geologists and astronomers note certain transient lunar phenomena, or TLPs, that include brief flashes of light, color changes, or small surface disturbances. These events are often fleeting, occurring for only seconds or minutes, and are difficult to reproduce under controlled conditions. Despite rigorous observation protocols, TLPs continue to be reported by both amateur and professional astronomers, sometimes with multiple independent confirmations. While most scientists interpret these events as natural phenomena, perhaps minor outgassing, surface electrostatic discharges, or meteorite impacts, their frequency, variety, and intermittent nature suggest that the moon has characteristics that are not fully understood. Heat signatures have also drawn attention. Infrared observations sometimes reveal warmer areas that appear inconsistent with expected solar heating. These areas are typically small and transient, but indicate subtle differences in composition or structural properties beneath the surface. Gravity mapping has revealed irregularities, particularly in regions associated with mascons, the mass concentrations beneath the Maria. These regions distort local gravitational fields, affecting spacecraft orbits and requiring careful adjustment during lunar missions. The origin of these mascons is generally attributed to large lava deposits and ancient impacts, yet some distributions remain puzzling, hinting at a more complex internal structure than previously imagined. Another aspect of modern investigation involves studying the Moon's magnetic field. While the Moon lacks a global magnetosphere like Earth's, localized magnetic anomalies exist, often associated with specific surface features. These anomalies are sometimes linked to metallic minerals or remnant magnetization from ancient impacts, but in several regions, the intensity and orientation are difficult to reconcile with known geological processes. Scientists continue to model these anomalies, acknowledging that while natural explanations are plausible, some aspects remain poorly understood. These magnetic observations add another layer to the Moon's enduring enigma. In addition to scientific instruments, modern astronomy has incorporated digital modeling and simulation to analyze the Moon's orbital dynamics. Its precise rotation, tidal locking, and effect on Earth's axial tilt continue to intrigue astrophysicists. Advanced simulations suggest that the Moon's stability is unusually beneficial for life, influencing long-term climate stability and oceanic tides in ways that enhance habitability. While these observations do not imply intentional design, they underscore the Moon's remarkable influence and the subtle complexity of its interactions with Earth. Even as missions and studies increase in sophistication, the Moon retains its ability to surprise. Some unexplained features may eventually be clarified, but the persistent small anomalies, shadows, reflective surfaces, transient lights, and subtle gravitational irregularities remind us that human knowledge is always provisional. The Moon invites calm observation, curiosity without urgency, and reflection on the limits of what we can know. It serves as a mirror for both scientific inquiry and imagination, providing a space where evidence and wonder coexist. As you imagine the Moon tonight, picture the array of modern instruments orbiting above it, recording data, mapping its terrain, and probing its subtle mysteries. Visualize rovers traversing uncharted plains, detecting minerals and boulders, and transmitting each observation back to Earth. Consider the meticulous analysis of gravitational fields, the careful monitoring of transient phenomena, and the simulations tracking its orbital effects on our planet. Even with this detailed scrutiny, the Moon remains an enigmatic presence. Its anomalies gentle nudges to curiosity, quiet invitations to wonder, and reminders that some mysteries are both enduring and comforting. Let this sense of contemporary exploration accompany your calm descent into night, blending knowledge, subtle intrigue, and serenity as the Moon continues to hover above, silently observing, quietly puzzling, and peacefully inspiring all who look upon it. As the night deepens and the world around you becomes quiet, the Moon hangs in the sky, steady and luminous, a constant presence that has inspired humans for millennia. It is both familiar and enigmatic, a companion whose soft glow touches oceans, forests, cities, and the vast emptiness of space alike. Throughout our journey tonight, we have traced the Moon's influence from the earliest myths of ancient civilizations to the most recent robotic missions, observing its surface, pondering its mysteries, and considering the quiet possibility that it may hold secrets yet to be understood. Now, as you settle into the stillness of night, let us reflect on all we have seen and experienced, allowing the mind to drift gently into a state of contemplative calm under this enduring celestial guardian. Think of the countless generations who have looked up at the Moon, from early humans who lit fires beneath its glow to the astronomers who charted its movement with painstaking care. Each observer contributed a thread to the tapestry of human understanding, weaving together myth, science, culture, and imagination. The ancient legends told of the Moon's arrival in the sky, describing it as something almost deliberate in placement, a hollow sphere or a beacon of light. Whether symbolic or rooted in actual events lost to time, these stories reveal a deep awareness that the Moon was unusual, different from the stars that simply shone from afar. The patterns embedded in these tales, whether cultural or psychological, speak to an enduring human curiosity, a need to understand and interpret the world, even when answers remain elusive. As civilization progressed, the moon remained at the center of inquiry. Scholars and astronomers observed its phases, studied eclipses, and measured its effects on Earth with increasing precision. Apollo astronauts walked upon its surface, bringing back rocks and data that simultaneously confirmed some theories and challenged others. They recorded phenomena that were difficult to explain, from fleeting lights to subtle vibrations that reverberated through its interior like nothing found on Earth. Even decades later, these reports continue to intrigue and inspire. They remind us that the moon is not merely an inert rock, but a world with layers of complexity, where natural processes mingle with anomalies that provoke wonder and careful reflection. Scientific observations reveal that the moon is unique in the solar system. Its size, orbit, and composition are unlike those of most other satellites. It is disproportionately large relative to Earth, its orbit perfectly synchronized to allow the same face to gaze eternally upon our planet. Mass concentrations beneath its surface, unusual patterns of cratering, and seismic vibrations that persist far longer than expected all add to its distinct character. For scientists, these features offer a fascinating puzzle. For dreamers, they are invitations to imagine possibilities beyond conventional explanation. In all cases, the moon remains a subject of curiosity, not fear, a calm, patient enigma that encourages both contemplation and observation. Throughout the 20th century, the moon became a silent stage for human ambition and geopolitical tension. During the Cold War, both the United States and the Soviet Union treated it with meticulous attention. Missions were launched, data carefully recorded, and anomalies closely monitored. Yet in public, the moon remained a symbol of human achievement and wonder rather than a subject of suspicion or speculation. Behind the scenes, scientists and strategists logged strange lights, unexpected shadows, and electromagnetic variations with quiet diligence. The moon was both ordinary and extraordinary, an object of national pride and an unresolved puzzle. As you imagine this, picture the moon not only as it appears to us now, but as it has been watched and measured by countless observers. Human curiosity as constant as its own glow. Some theorists and researchers have proposed that the moon's uniqueness might suggest something more deliberate. Russian scientists in the mid-20th century posited that it could be a hollow object, perhaps positioned or even engineered by an advanced civilization. These ideas are presented not as conclusions, but as contemplations, hypotheses grounded in careful observation of seismic behavior, orbital stability, and geological anomalies. Whether or not one accepts these notions, they provide a way to think about the moon in multiple dimensions. As a physical object, a stabilizing presence, a record of cosmic history, and a spark for imagination. In this sense, the moon is both scientific and poetic, a bridge between knowledge and mystery, observation and contemplation. The moon's influence extends beyond science into culture, art, and human psychology. Poets have long celebrated its soft illumination, reflecting upon its phases, its silver glow, and its presence over landscapes both familiar and remote. Festivals, rituals, and communal gatherings across the globe honor its cycles, turning observation into celebration, reflection, and meditation. Modern media continues this tradition, exploring both factual and speculative aspects of the moon through films, documentaries, and literature. Through all of these expressions, the moon retains a duality. It is comforting yet mysterious, familiar yet elusive, grounding yet inspiring. It invites attention, curiosity, and imagination without urgency, making it the perfect companion for quiet reflection and gentle sleep. Even as technology allows us to study the moon in extraordinary detail, certain mysteries remain. Geometric patterns on its surface, shifting shadows, subtle thermal anomalies, and irregular mass concentrations challenge our understanding. Robotic probes, high-resolution cameras, and spectrometers reveal new layers of complexity. Yet they do not answer every question. Each observation deepens the sense of calm curiosity, encouraging patience rather than fear. The moon's quiet presence reminds us that some mysteries are best appreciated slowly, over time, and with a willingness to observe without immediately resolving. Its serenity teaches a form of intellectual and emotional patience, a gentle lesson in coexistence with the unknown. Imagine yourself now beneath this glowing companion, lying comfortably as the night deepens. The moon casts its gentle light across the world, brushing oceans, mountains, and forests with silver illumination. You can picture ancient humans gazing upward, Apollo astronauts exploring its surface, and scientists monitoring it with precise instruments. Perhaps in some quiet sense, the moon itself observes as much as it is observed, holding billions of years of history, subtle anomalies, and silent possibilities. Its glow provides a rhythm for the mind to follow, a soft cadence in which curiosity and relaxation coexist. Allow each thought of its surface, its orbit, its history, and its mysteries to drift lightly across your awareness, like the soft, unhurried movement of clouds across a night sky. The moon's mysteries are ultimately invitations to wonder, to reflect, and to embrace uncertainty in a way that is calming rather than alarming. Its anomalies, whether geological, orbital, or observational, offer gentle provocations to curiosity, encouraging the mind to explore without urgency. Its cultural and psychological impact reminds us that beauty and intrigue often coexist with the ordinary, that the familiar can carry subtle surprises, and that even a companion as constant as the moon can hold secrets beyond immediate comprehension. This combination of stability and mystery is what allows the moon to serve as both a guide and a muse, a presence that nurtures contemplation and prepares the mind for rest. As you drift further into sleep, imagine the moon watching silently, its surface bathed in the soft light of distant stars. Feel the rhythm of tides, the cycles of the moon, and the quiet movement of celestial bodies, all working in harmony to sustain life below. Let your mind rest upon the gentle notion that the moon's mysteries are ongoing, that it is a timeless companion whose calm presence invites reflection, imagination, and peace. With every breath, allow the moon's steady glow to lull you deeper into tranquility, its quiet enigma guiding you into a restful, dream-filled night. Here, in the balance of mystery and serenity, you may find the perfect harmony of curiosity and calm, the gentle transition from wakefulness to sleep under the enduring watch of a moon that is at once known, unknown, and endlessly fascinating.